Hey, JK here. I want to thank you for sharing part of your day with me.
Y'all ready for this?
Welcome back to 30 Teams in 30 Days. For day 14, we're going to be traveling up to the Big Apple to talk about the New York Mets, the other team in New York. The record for the 2025 New York Mets was 83-79. They did finish second in their division, which was the best finish since 2022. However, they were also 13 games behind Philly, who was in first, so we'll be talking about them tomorrow. So yeah, it was close, but not so close. Not close at all. They were very close to getting to the wild card game. However, they could not win one game when it mattered. They were tied with the Reds going into the final game of the season, and all they had to do was beat the Marlins. That was their last series of the year, the Marlins. And they could not get it done because the Reds held the head-to-head record 4-2. The Mets did not make it. I think it's funny because when people say that the Yankees buy their team, well, yeah, that's what free agency is. You give the best package or the best deal to the players you want. I think it's funny because the Mets showed out so much money. They tried so many different things to try to get in the playoffs, and they just fell short. As we move on to the team leaders, it was a three-man show. Three big names here, and of course, they're the exact same ones you would expect. Lindor, Soto, and Alonso. Francisco Lindor, or Mr. Smiley, led the team in at-bats and hits, while Big Dog Pete Alonso came in and led in doubles, RBIs, strikeouts, and average, while then Mr. Soto came in and cleared everyone out, leading in the home runs, leading in all the categories except for triples, because that was Jeff McNeil. Now, as we talk about Jeff McNeil, we also have to talk about his decline. Now, we've hit on this fact since we started this series, so we'll do it again. 2022 batting title champion Jeff McNeil had a .328 batting average and has since just gone downhill. Now, 2025 did mark a little bit of improvement, but this was the first time since 2022 he did not reach 100 hits. He only had 97. Last year, he only had 101, so he was flirting with disaster there. He did have more doubles, did have more walks, and had less strikeouts. So again, those are good ways to alternate. That's the stuff you want to see more of and the stuff you want to see less of. However, being on the wrong side of 30, since turning 30 in 2022, he's again just gone downhill. In 2026, he'll be moving to Sutter Health Park out with the Athletics. And as a lefty, he will have a short porch out in right field. It is going to hopefully increase his home runs the last few years. He's had 12, and then the year before he had 10. So maybe he'll have a few more home runs. Maybe we have a little bit higher batting average. He's hitting like 230, 240 the last few years. So again, far cry from the 328 he had in 2022. But again, maybe he'll be able to bounce back. Talking about a bounce back year, Brandon Nimmo did just that. 2024 was just a down year for Brandon Nimmo. Was hurt a little bit, had to go on the IL, had some load management, just wasn't the player he was or had been before because he's been in the league for years, right? So in 2025, he's like, hey, let's get back to the way we were doing things. So he was hitting higher average from 224 to 263, I believe. So he played more games, had more at-bats, and RBIs along with ratios. Now, he's going to Globe Life Park next year with the Rangers, so that is a pitcher-friendly park. So he might see a few less home runs, but with the ability to hit the gaps a little more, he could see a few more triples. Now, on the flip side, he saw less runs, less triples, less strikeouts, so that's good, cut it by 17, but then also missed out on over 20 walks. So, again, take the good with the bad. But then keep in mind, he also cut down his errors. He only had 2 in 2024, 1 in 2025. He's a phenomenal defender. He has honed his skills over the years, and he's going to be a great addition to that Rangers outfield. Flipping the script to someone a little younger, but also who had a bounce-back season, Brett Baty. He only played in 50 games in 24, so being able to come back and play in 130 games in 25 was phenomenal. Obviously, the numbers did increase. He doubled home runs from a career high of 9 to now 18. Also saw increases in RBIs, in the ratios, but more importantly, he saw his hits absolutely go crazy. And when I say that, he had 100 hits on the season. 33% of those, or 33 hits, did result in extra bases and or bringing runs home. That's nice. That's a good clip. A third of the time you were in scoring position or getting yourself around to score. Brett Baty is not penciled in right now as a starter, but because of injury, I'm sure that he is going to be able to be someone who they can use in super utility, decent with the bat, not sexy, but again, a defender who's going to be able to go play the role at third, maybe second, because a little older guys not producing as much in different situations, But again, Beatty is someone they're going to have to get in that lineup if they want that young core. Now, they did bring in some guys. We're going to get to them later. They're a little older, so I don't know if being long in the tooth is going to give them that advantage, which sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't, because they're slower to come around, or they've just been sapped of their power. Anyway, Brett Beatty, great 2025. Didn't seem like it paid off fully enough for the Mets to see his potential. And if they did, they're not showing it. We've talked about three guys who had decent bounce back years, some better than others. But now we're going to talk about some guys who just seem to fall flat. Now, the numbers were still there. Maybe just not as many, but they still produced. But the energy wasn't there. It didn't seem like they were the same person, per se. Mark Vientos and Francisco Alvarez just didn't seem to bring that same pop to the lineup. Now, Vientos was the absolute epitome of playing in the games, but just going through the motions. He did produce 17 home runs. He did have 60-plus RBIs. But again, it wasn't the same. Now, I think it's mainly because they were missing their DJ who came on the field after the games. I can't remember his name. It's going to annoy me. In any case, it kind of makes you wonder, did that hamstring strain that kept him out a few games on the IL impact him a little more than he was letting on? We'll never know. But someone else who absolutely needed a wake-up call was Francisco Alvarez. He was hurt to start the season, so there was an expectation that he was going to come along a little slower, obviously into the season, trying to catch up with stuff. And I think his first game back, he had a home run. I'm like, woo, yeah, it's cool, I have him. But then, over the next few weeks, he just was not performing well, so they actually sent him down to the minors. He was there for about a month and came back apparently a new man. He did smack another 8 homers after he came back, but then eventually did have to succumb to surgery. The surgeries came from a result of his jammed thumb, impacted his UCL, then also a fractured pinky that he received in the minors. He was on his rehab assignment. So again, it's going to be important that he gets back to being the Francisco Alvarez that came onto the scene in 2021, I believe, who just surprised everyone. 25 home runs. He was batting like 230. He was seen as the man behind the plate, but also the man at the plate, being able to get stuff going. The Mets are going to need that more than anything because they lost some power. We'll get to that in a little bit. The starting rotation was not sexy, and they did not make this look easy. They made everything exciting in a bad way. You were never sure if they were going to be able to lock it down, get the win, or if they were going to just blow up like crazy. The two main guys, David Peterson and Clay Holmes, did have the best stats, but again, they weren't sexy. Holmes, converted closer, did lead the team in games started, games won, ERA, and WHIP, while Mr. David Peterson led the team in innings pitched, quality starts, and strikeouts. Now, as we talk about those two being the main guys, I really just think they were the two best of the bad pitching staff. They had 6 guys start at least 10 games for them, okay? Everyone had a 3.5 ERA or higher, okay? Except for Kodai Senga. Well, okay, that's good. He only pitched 113 innings, then got hurt and was demoted to the minors. So, not the feel-good story you think it is. Also, keep in mind that 2 of those 6 guys had ERAs 3.5 plus, included David Peterson with a 4.22 and Sean Manaea with a 5.64. Also, that same group of 6 guys all had at least a 1.3 whip, but Sean Manaea did have a 1.22 whip. So, yeah. 5.6 ERA doesn't look so bad now, does it? Also, that same group of 6 guys gave up a combined 64 home runs. 4 of those 6 had double digits, like 11 plus. Yikes. So with all those scary numbers in the starting rotation, was there any positive in these pitchers for the Mets? Yes. Nolan McLean. Solely Nolan McLean. He was able to be called up late in the season. He had 8 starts, 4 quality starts, 5 wins, 48 innings pitched, 57 strikeouts. He then had a 2.16 ERA with a 1.05, I believe, whip. Gave up 11 earned runs in those 8 starts. However, 5 of those 11 came in the last game against the Chicago Cubs, where he also struck out a season and career high 11. So, again, take the good with the bad. He's actually pitching the World Baseball Classic now with Team USA. He'll be taking them out tomorrow against Italy, I believe. So hopefully he continues to do well and does not get hurt. As we move on to the bullpen, I do want to say that I made a mistake yesterday. I said the Marlins with 22 blown saves had the most in MLB. That was not correct. It's the Mets. They had 28 blown saves. Now, keep this in mind. They had several guys who did well, but they didn't get the ball that much. They had one guy, Edward Diaz, who could absolutely close games out, but they don't have him anymore. Of the 5 guys who had at least 28 plus appearances. 2 of them had below a 2.45 ERA. Those 2 guys only had 28 and 30 appearances. And now you might continue asking great questions and say, hey, JK, those other 3 guys that had the double-digit appearances, how many did they have and what were their stats? Well, all of those 3 had at least 52 appearances. They had ERAs ranging between 3.54 and let me double check here, 5.3. Whips were 1.24 to 1.57. You decided to go with those guys 52 times opposed to the 2 guys that had the good ERAs and the good whips. Got it. Cool. As we get to the prospects, there's one main pitcher I want to talk about. Jonah Tong came up for a little bit last year, but did not do well. He had a 7.71 ERA with a 1.77 whip. Lots of 7s, lots of 1s there. He definitely needs more time to develop. But he could end up doing well for him, maybe coming on with some injuries or a 6-man rotation. The next best prospect for the Mets is Carson Bench. He is going to be an outfielder. He does seem to have pretty good speed with 22 steals at AAA last year and 15 homers. So a 281 batting average with that much power and the contact ability, not too bad. Again, he's going to be in the outfield for him. Depending on how things go, he could be a starter. He could stay up for the foreseeable future, or he could go back down like Jonah Tong. As we get to the arrivals and departures, there were a lot of guys coming to New York, and a few guys going out, but mainly the guys coming in were like stars who maybe have fallen a little bit, or there were questions about him. One of my main new arrivals was Freddie Peralta. I'm excited, although I'm also very upset because he had a pretty good division there he was in with not the strongest of teams. Now he's got to play some better teams, some decent teams. I don't like that. But maybe you could have 10, 15 strikeout games against the Nats and or the Marlins. Yeah. Not excited about him starting about the Phillies or the Braves. But anyway, they also brought in other guys like Luis Robert, who, if he decides to actually do something and put a little pep in his step, he could do pretty well. Jorge Polanco, who's going to be taking over first because they lost the big dog, Polar Bear. Polanco usually played second, but that's now going to go to Marcus Semien. Could also play third, but that's going to Bo Bichette. Francisco Lindor, obviously still at shortstop, so he can't go anywhere but first. To give even more competition for Bench and fortifying the outfield, they brought in MJ Melendez, former catcher who has a little bit of speed, but the most help came in the form of the bullpen. They brought in pretty much everyone that used to play for the Yankees. Not everyone, but Luke Weaver and Devin Williams are both coming over. And they also signed Craig Kimbrell to a minor league contract. Could see a plethora of former closers, again, closing for a team in New York. Oh, God, didn't go well for us over in the Bronx. So maybe in the Big Apple over there, the other side of New York, maybe it'll be even worse for them. As far as the people leaving, the biggest name there, you got to talk about Pete Alonso. Oh, now he's going to get to go against my Yankees even more. Oh, Lord, I'm not looking forward to this. They also got rid of Jeff McNeil, Brandon Nimmo, your boy Edwin Diaz, the best trumpet playing intro in all of Major League Baseball. Also Frankie Montas. And then unfortunately also cut ties with Starling Marte, one of my favorite guys, really. He can steal bases, could hit, but just old age and injuries caught up to him. And then one of their top prospects, Brandon Sproat, I'm not sure how to say his last name. Anyway, got rid of him. Now with the Milwaukee Brewers, he could do decent there. I mean, he was throwing decently well, not sexy. Still definitely needs some room to develop and improve. But I mean, learning behind Brandon Woodruff, that's not a bad person to learn behind. As we get to the bold predictions, I think we're going to have Francisco Lindor have a 40-40 season. There we go. I think we're going to see Marcus Semien have a 30-30 season, if he can stay healthy. Let's make that 20-20. Marcus Semien is going to have a 20-20 season, yeah, if he can stay healthy. I also would like to see Bo Bichette still keep that ugly green hair and perform considerably less than good. I don't like Bo Bichette, so I don't think he's going to do that well. And then moving to the rotation. Ooh, I think they could move Clay Holmes back to the bullpen. They got a lot of good arms. They also have some arms from New York. He's not in the starting rotation right now. He's not penciled in the depth chart. So I don't know if they're going to do like a piggyback thing with him or just move him straight like you now get to be used as a setup man with the guys that, used to set up with or, you set up for you or someone who took over your job in New York and looked back every single day and said, hey, can I be as bad as you were? Well, that's going to do it for day 14, ladies and gentlemen. We had an exciting World Baseball Classic game tonight. We were able to come out with a victory over Mexico. First time in 20 years beating them, so that's phenomenal. We're coming back to Major League Baseball. We're going to be going with day 15 tomorrow, talking about the Philadelphia Phillies, the winners of the NL East. That will be day 15. That will be the best team in that league. Then we'll be going to another division. We'll let you know that tomorrow. This is JK. I want to thank you for sharing part of your day with me.